The topic supply chain management. When we consider the most important topic, the supply chain management is SCM, which is also called. So it's not a small topic when it is a larger and wide spectrum. So the word So, SCM, supply chain management. So, we are considering here supply chain management. There are three terms that are involved here. So, what does this exactly the supply chain will be dealing with? They will be dealing with goods and services from start to the end to end process that they will be considering about a particular product of a manufacturer or of a customer and then a business owners. So, this particularly considered as whenever a product is being delivered from the manufacturer to the final consumers. So, whenever you order a particular product from Amazon, from retail stores, anywhere, when you place an order, so it will be going through certain stages. It will be going through a lot of stages, and all those stages from the point of view selecting a product to the product that is delivered to your home, entire circle comes under supply chain management. And how these people in between mediators, how they are managing this particular process is comes under supply chain management. It is interlinked with one particular industry with the other industry and also to the final consumer. So the supply chain management was introduced to make customers feel valued and also satisfied and to have a smooth process between the organizations, that is the company owners or the product manufacturers, to the final consumers. So let's take an example and understand what exactly the supply chain management mean. Imagine I want to buy one particular an iPhone. Okay, so how this iPhone is touching different organizations or different industries. So when you want to buy an iPhone, you just go to a retail store and purchase it. But what exactly is happening in the back end? How an iPhone is assembled. So if you know the assembling of iPhones and the panels, the features into it and the screening, everything is assembled at one particular industry. Okay, and that also is happening at a different country. Okay, and that, so when it is started, the processing is happening at one place, the assembling is happening at one place, packaging is happening at the other place, and then finally the distributors are bringing all these products to retail stores, a finished product, and then we are receiving that particular product. When we take another example, if you want to purchase a wooden chair or something, how the manufacturing is happening? So somewhere we are getting this wood from a forest or from some trees. Okay, from that we are having a certain manufacturing industry. They will be formatting all of this woods, the complete wood blocks, into a fine usable product. So if I want a chair, I cannot just cut down a tree and then think that it is a chair. Correct? So there is a lot of difference between the wood blocks and also the finished product. And the entire process from the wood block to the finished products, the requirement of a chair, the wood blocks and the finished product, and to the delivery, the entire process, the entire stages, this particular product that is going through comes under supply chain management. And who all are being involved in this process comes under supply chain management. When we see here, like let's just take the same example about a wooden chair. The requirement is a chair. Okay, so what is our requirement here? A wooden chair. So first the request is created. For this request, somebody from somewhere, they are trying to get the wood blocks. Okay, and they are cutting down a tree and then getting the wood blocks, and this wood blocks later on they are manufactured. Okay, from a manufacturing industry. So this manufacturing industry, which manufacturing industry? The one which deals with this wooden products, okay, maybe furnitures and then cupboards, all these persons, this manufacturing industry will take this wood blocks and start working on the request or the need of a customer, okay. And what these people will do, they'll get this wood blocks and then they neatly furnishes it and then they assemble or they manufacture a chair here. Once the manufacturing of chair is done, it is directly not delivered to the customer. It is again transferred to the distributor. Who is that? The next person comes here is the distributor. So, request is created, then we are having the product, the raw material. This is called raw material. From raw material to the finished goods. So, who is doing that finished goods? This manufacturing industry is doing the finished goods. So, your request is from raw material to the finished goods. What all the stages is nothing but a supply chain management. So what they are doing, these distributors, they will collect the product or they will collect the bulk of the products and they will transfer to the retail stores or retailers, okay. And from the retailers, our product is final delivered to the customer, okay. Final person who is creating the request and also who is receiving the final product is nothing but that person is called customer, okay. And here we have retailers, okay. For all of this process, one factor is involved, and what is that factor? Monetary value, okay. Either for the chair and for the hard work that is happening under this manufacturing industry, the people who are working under this manufacturing industry. So the chair, the wood blocks and the manufacturing industry, how they are formulating a raw material. Understand, the major concept is a raw material. Raw material to finished goods, right? What are we considering? When we talk about SAM, it's nothing but raw material conversion of or the process that undergo from a raw material to finished goods is nothing but a supply chain management. And all the stages, all the people who are involved in this particular process comes under supply chain management. So that can be your request and then how it is executed, how it is planned, which people are involved in it and who is receiving the customer. Is this customer happy with the product that they are receiving? All this comes under supply chain management, okay. And also when you try to purchase some product, we always see that which company or which organization is offering a good product. If I want to buy a watch, I'll go through different organizations or different companies which are offering me watches and I will select one particular watch depending upon my interest, depending upon my requirement or my budget as well. That's what we are talking here, monetary value. We need to consider this particular thing also. In supply chain management, when the payments are done or any of the payments we are doing, we call it as invoices. We call it as invoices. So, whenever you do a payment, that is released as a invoice, okay. It's nothing but a bills that will be receiving, okay. So when all of this process, if you see in detail, you have a lot of breakdown. But when you go for an e-commerce, we don't have such breakouts. You go, you select a product and then add that product to your cart and then purchase that particular product. That's right. So the story behind you receiving a product and the back end story is this. Like we have discussed about the example just now, let's discuss what are the components that we will be discussing under SCM. So the first one comes under plan, source, execute, deliver, return. So whenever you start purchasing an item or you want to purchase an item, you will go through all of these things, correct? So you plan on what to buy, correct? So whenever you talk about a plan, what is this planning? What happens under, when supply chain management we are talking about SCM, so what planning can be done? So whenever a customer is asking for a chair, which chair that he is asking, the request is very clear. Okay, it is a wooden chair, correct? Now, when wooden chair is asked, can you deliver the customer a plastic chair? No, right? So, the plan for the wooden chair should happen, correct? So, this is from a manufacturer end or from a customer perspective. So, both what kind of things that are happening. Let's go through that. So, from a customer point of view, I plan which product to purchase. Is it a wooden chair or is it a plastic chair? So, I got the request, I select the organization, I look at the pricing of that particular product and then I place the order. So, these are the few things that happens on a customer front, correct? So, that order or the request is received by this particular organization and they follow these few segments. And what are these things? They plan. Okay, the customer needs a wooden chair. So let's plan or let's create a request internally for a wooden chair. Okay, when the request is created, what happens? Somebody, they start working on the request or the order that you have placed. Then what happened? Sourcing. These people also source from different companies or different manufacturing industries or different raw materials. So imagine sourcing is nothing but selecting one particular company or a industry which is best for that particular product. So what these people will do, these people will be sourcing, telling that for a wooden, there are a lot of manufacturing industries that offer wood for the organizations. But I need to consider which wood can be considered. So, right, there are a lot of wood types. Okay. So, you need to consider what kind of wood the customer is asking. Okay. That specification needs to be considered and you will be sourcing the right organization with a right product. You don't want bad raw material and destroy your reputation. You need the good raw material with a reasonable pricing with all that parameters that you have put for your organization. A company should meet all that parameters. So this sourcing is nothing but you will be verifying all the available organizations, industries in the market and select only that particular industry which is suitable for your organization. Understood? So then once sourcing is done, you have selected the company, you have selected the type of a product that you need and with respect to the customer's requirement, your planning is done, your sourcing is done. Okay. Now, post this plan and sourcing, you are executing. Executing is nothing but manufacturing. What is this? Manufacturing. So you started manufacturing the product that the customer raised a request for. Okay. With this sourced raw material, you will start manufacturing that particular product. Okay. And then once the product is moved from raw material to finished goods, that particular product will go for the delivery. It will go for the delivery. So, when you talk about the delivery, to whom you will deliver? Generally, we deliver to the customer who have raised the request. In between stage, we spoke about distributors and retailers. Correct? So, when we talk about distributors and retailers, if it is a bulk thing, now it is a direct order. So, we don't need a distributor and a retailer. But imagine you see a lot of products and a lot of involvement in a lot of organizations. When such thing happen, we need distributors and retailers to make our product available to the customer on a retail stores. If it is an online, you can do all of this thing. Or if I am going to an organization, if I am going to a company manufacturing unit and directly place the order, take the product. But if I am doing via online platforms, e-commerce platforms, then involvement of distributors and retailers are majorly important. So, these people will make the product available to the customers. Imagine if you see there are certain products or woolen products that are available in one part of the country, and those products are being available here as well. And how that is happening? Through these distributors and retailers. They keep on distributing the products wherever it is manufactured. The products will be distributed in such a way, or they'll be reaching the retail stores in such a way that it is available to the customer in every single part of the world. That's how somewhere we have an manufacturing of the phones and we are purchasing it from the nearby retail stores. Correct. So, they are manufactured, they are assembled, they are formulated in some other places, some different parts of the country. But end of the day, the finished product, you are purchasing it from a retail store or through online. Correct. So, now the delivery is happening to the customer, which plays a vital role. Why are we mainly focusing on the sourcing, planning or execution and delivery? For customer satisfaction. For whom we are doing? Customer satisfaction. See, if I add certain parameters, if I add certain specifications, what is happening? I am helping the customer to get the good product, to get the desired product. What is that? Desired product. Whose desired product? Customer's desired product. Okay, as a customer, when I think about a product, I need that product to be the same way that is happening in my head. Correct? The way I am thinking about that product, it needs to be delivered in the same way. What happens if that happens? If that way, whatever I'm thinking, I'm getting the product, what happens? I am having a customer satisfaction. I'm happy for whatever the purchase that I'm doing. I'm really happy. Why? Because this organization is meeting my customer satisfaction. It is valuing my interest. Organization is valuing my interest. That is the reason many of the organizations, they say that the product is customizable. What does that mean? You can customize that product according to your interest. Imagine I don't want this particular color, I can change the color. I don't want this particular cap, I can change the cap. According to your interest, you can select whatever you want. That facility these organizations are giving these days to value their customer and also to improve their customer satisfaction. Understood? Now, once the product is delivered to the customer, this particular customer, he can feel, touch, and then he can decide to keep the product or return the product. He can keep the product or return the product. So, keep the product is nothing but he liked the product, he is interested with the product and he retains the product. That means again the organization is meeting the customer satisfaction. If he doesn't like the product or he is not satisfied with that particular product, what he will do? He will be returning the product. So, these days every organization is giving a return policy. What is return policy? It has a tenure of 7 days or 10 days. According, depends upon the organization to the organization, 10 days or 15 days, something. This can vary. with respect to the organization's policy. So this return policy is nothing but within 7 days from the date of delivery, as a customer, I can choose if I want this particular product, or if I don't like the product, I can change or exchange it or return it. I can do an exchange or a return. So, whenever we are purchasing or we are going through any of these sessions or any of this process, we have this option. How many of you returned a particular product? I did return a lot of products. Why? Maybe because of the fitting issues, maybe because of color issues, maybe because of quality issues. So, why a product will be returned? Why a customer choosing to return a product? So, just like how we discussed, quality, fitting, color, right? So, these are the major things that we'll be considering, or damaged, wrong products delivered. So, or just simply you did not like the product. So, these can be a parameters why you are, returning the product, just simply that you did not like the product. That involves a return policy of that particular company. It is giving the leverage to the customer to keep the product or to return the product. At the same time, when you consider a customizable product, they will be clearly mentioning that the return policy is not availed to this particular product. Now imagine you go to some Amazon or something and you buy some milk packet or shampoos or anything. We don't have a return policy for that. Why is that? Why we do not have return policy to such kind of goods? Why? Because those are perishable goods. So that means you take it or you use it, one time you open it, no, you cannot return that particular product. The same goes like, for lipsticks, cosmetics. Once the product is delivered, okay, you can raise a refund if the product is damaged, but you cannot return that product. But if you consider as some clothings and all, you have an option to return. So all that products which have an option to return, okay, has a return policy, and there are certain other products as well, or the customizable products you cannot return. So you need to see the return policy whenever you are placing an order directly or via e-commerce platforms.